Well, Liam, after a very productive Christmas, what's the mood in the camp going into an exciting FA Cup game this weekend?
Yeah, naturally the lads have come in good spirits. We gave them Sunday, Monday off, which I think was important, and then in yesterday in a relatively light session, and then I have to say I trained well today. It was a competitive session, intense. It was good. So yeah, they're in a good spot. We used the opportunity to kind of review the block of four. Sometimes it's a bit hectic, it's a bit frantic. We give them enough information as it is, so to be able to analyse every single game, becomes quite challenging. So we used this morning to just to review some of our principles, how we play, and how they've performed at it.
So out of interest, after West Brom you don't get too low, and maybe after BT Derby you don't get too high. How do you review the festive period, both the good and the bad?
Yeah, I think it's looking at our identity, the way we play, the way we behave. Our application on the pitch. I think is the lads are never going to play the perfect game. It doesn't exist. So it's trying to create and replicate more good than bad. So credit to them. I think you only have to look at it. Especially the last game is so demanding, such a relentless period that I think the last one you find out loads around culture, around your group. And sat with Nighty and a few of the other lads yesterday, and the one thing that we did last year, which we hadn't this year, was ban the word tired. And to be fair, Nighty brought it up. The lads didn't. Not one mentioned it. Not one spoke about it, which speaks volumes for their attitude, their application, and the fact they're willing to dig in. So, yeah, it was a quick turnaround after West Brom, but extremely proud of the lads of how they've gone about the last 4 games.
Yeah, I think you referenced Rob Dickie almost spent at the end of Saturday's game, and if the players can't bring it up, and they'll probably say, "Look, boss, I'm ready to play again." Do you have to take a little backward step and look at fatigue going into your team selection this weekend, given there's a lot of games coming up in the Championship?
Yeah, to be fair, Rob's been ill. Rob's actually been in bed since. He got out yesterday, so again, huge credit to him. He was ill before the game, and I was texting him Monday, was it? What's today? Wednesday, Monday, and he quite ill. Doc's been round to see him, and yeah, which again speaks volumes for him, and what people are willing to do for the team. I think it's the biggest bit we want here. When you look at it, everybody's played, everybody's had opportunity. People have naturally played different minutes to each other, but they've all played. And again, I think you need when anybody steps on, be ready to go. And that will be the same. The period we've got coming up, we haven't cracked anything. It's about staying level, and going into the weekend with what's another exciting game. But it then becomes you've got to find that sweet spot for me of you don't want to go 2 weeks not playing. At the same point, you need to look after a few as well. So they're the headaches that I have the next day or two.
Does that make Rob a doubt for Saturday?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
How's the rest of the squad looking?
Yeah, good. The rest has been important, and we try to work hard to look after them all. I think that's the biggest bit. Is the rest of the squad. You've got people that have high in minutes, people that are low in minutes, people that haven't been in squads, people that have been on the bench and not come on. And culturally, hopefully the lads feel it, and I'm pretty sure they do. And the staff work really hard to look after everybody and give everybody what they need. So some need extra rest, some need extra work, some need some bits in the gym. There's a lot of planning that goes into making sure that we try and keep the lads in the best place possible, physically and mentally.
So assuming Rob's not available, and obviously Rob Atkinson's joined Portsmouth, where does that leave you with options at centre-back going into the weekend? Is Cal Naismith back on the grass yet? Yeah,
Nazy's trained, so Nazy comes into contention. Obviously someone that we have to ease back in, but yeah, Nazy's back, Sykes is back. They're both trained this week so far. So yeah, they're in contention for the weekend.
And you want to win this game. There's over 20,000 fans. Will your team selection be any different because it's an FA Cup tie than if it was a Championship game this weekend?
I think that's the beauty of the depth we've got. I think we can make tweaks and changes and sustain a level, but I've never not gone into anything not trying to win. I think that's the biggest bit. Even if we make tweaks and changes, we're still doing it to try and win the game. And that's what when I look at progress, we're in a better position where we're able to have the depth and make the odd change, the odd tweak. And for me, it's not about wholesale changes. I think that's quite important. You want rhythm and momentum, so there'll definitely be maybe the odd tweak, but not wholesale changes.
So Rob joined Portsmouth, and maybe one or two people weren't expecting that. Could there be any other outgoings, people who aren't getting game time in the next few days or weeks? Yeah,
possibly. I think everything's a possible until there's something there in front of you. So again, I think it's a case of we have to be proactive with the work we do, but there's also an element where you have to be reactive off the market, and obviously with people moving on, we don't dictate that necessarily.
Does it remain quiet? Forgive me for asking to be a scratch record, but still no sign of any major incomings at this moment in time?
No, nothing close on that front. Ideally you'd maybe one or two, which I don't think we need to do major business, but I think at the minute it doesn't look like we'll be doing anything.
Do we have to be realistic? You'd ideally like 1 or 2. Is the reason you're not getting 1 or 2? Is it like a lot of clubs' finances? Is it as simple as that? Is that what's stopping you from adding to your squad?
Yeah, a combination of everything. Elements of finance, definitely. Elements of this, the size of the squad, the wage bill. There's many factors that go into it. The right ones being available. I think we have got depth. We were quite aware, in the summer that we were carrying, quite decent numbers. But at the same point, you obviously want to go into the second half of the season and have a kick as well. So again, I think it's weighing up, where we're at, what we've got, and how do we move forward.
Have you been tempted to have a word with the hierarchy, given your 8th, you're 3 points off the playoffs game? That one signing could just be the push that we need to really sustain a playoff push going into the second half of the season.
I think me, like probably every other head coach, manager's constantly pushing for that. Whether you get it or not's another thing, but I think everybody, our job's to constantly push to get more and more and make things better, and more's not always better. I think I'm really pleased with the group we've got. When you look at the depth, the competition, I think the way we work especially as well. I think players do improve over the course of the season. So it is very much about finishing the season strong. Doesn't mean that we're not open to adding and strengthening, but it also has to be the right one that fits with what we're trying to do.
And rest assured, even if you don't add to your squad, that doesn't mean there's not an ambition at the football club to really push for promotion to the Premier League.
No, definitely not. I think that it's ultimately the reason I came here. Was to push. I'm ambitious. I'm driven. I want the group to be that, and the club needs to be that as well. So again, like I said, I'll be pushing for as much as I can to to try and improve the squad.
Wolves are their own business, but would you not be surprised if they made 11 changes on Saturday, as a lot of FA Cup, a lot of Premier League clubs seem to do at this stage of the competition?
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea, to be honest, what they'll do. I watched them on Monday night. We'll do our work like we always do, but I think then it's control what we can, and that's ultimately what we pick, how we approach the game, what we do, our plan, and then we'll see on the day of the game.
Yeah, I watched the game, and I'm glad I did, because I saw them lose 3-0 at home to Nottingham Forest, and you'd think, this is a good time to play them. But they're actually playing well at the moment, aren't they? And that was probably harsh on them, that result on Monday. Yeah,
they conceded the early one, and then after that they could have been 1-up, to be fair. They obviously missed a couple of decent chances, so you're playing against Premier League opposition. Naturally, you're going to be up a well-organised side and strong players, so it's one for us that, the pressure's on them ultimately. I think that's the good thing about the game. We can go into it and, be ourselves, apply ourselves to our max, and go and take the game to them and see how we do.
I asked supporters at the end of the year for their highlight of 2024, and by the end I stopped asking because it was all Tommy Conway, West Ham. The FA Cup can give everyone a lift. I know the competition might not be the FA Cup that it was 20 years ago, but what would a win against Wolves on Saturday do for the football club and for the fan base? Yeah,
definitely. It was a special memory for me last year as well, that I think, in terms of obviously having spent a few years there and going back, and the noise, the fans that day, I remember were top, to be fair. So that, and then obviously we had the replays were excellent away at Forest. So we had 4 really good games where, although we got knocked out, we didn't lose against Premier League opposition. So it was for us especially, we'd had a little bit of a tough time in the league as well. So it was a welcome, opportunity to build on something, and we used that kind of momentum from the cup into the league, which helped definitely. So it's a cup competition that's got huge history and extremely prestigious. So it's one that we'll be doing everything to try and progress at the weekend.
Yeah, the traditionalist in me is upset that there aren't replays anymore. So we will get a result on Saturday. Do you practice pens this week?
The lads do them constantly. So it's one of those. You might have a little go at it. Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Liam, just touching on replays, I just wondered, you mentioned over the Christmas period about the tradition of having that many fixtures. Just wondered your thoughts as a head coach about them not being in the competition this year in general.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, right? I think in terms of, I understand also, lower down the pyramid, the chain, whatever you want to call it, the impact that replays can have on some clubs financially. I totally get that side of it as well. I think, where we're at is obviously a big thing for us last year, but at the same point, the knock-on effect then is obviously, where the players are stretched to the max anyway in terms of the volume of games that you play. So, yeah, for me, it's probably contradictory feelings on it. But hey, it is what it is. We don't make the decision, so what we will do is be prepared to go into the weekend and play for as long as we need to.
Luke McNally mentioned after the game, the West Ham game and the Forest game, obviously he's a player that wasn't here last year. Is it something you've spoken about as a group in preparation for another cup game against Premier League opposition?
No, not yet, to be honest. It's not. All the work so far this week has been on us and our reviewing. We'll obviously do our work and present to the players at the end of the week. But I think the biggest bit, when it has been so relentless with opposition meetings and games, actually reviewing us, our identity, our principles of play, what we want to do. For me, the value's been in that. We'll make sure obviously we prep appropriately on Friday.
How does your prep change when you've got a team that's changed manager like fairly recently? How far back do you look at how they've been playing, or do you just mainly focus on since the new manager's been in charge?
Yeah, mainly you look for trends, but mainly since he's been in place. And even then, it's unpredictable. You don't know, so you can do all the work you want on the opposition, but ultimately, we can predict even up to kick-off on Saturday. We can get their team sheet and predict what they'll do, but you never know. We obviously had it recently away at Plymouth with a change they'd made, and what were they going to do that day? I think that's where the way we work and what we try to do is get players that can think and use their brains and understand that they're the ones that have to drive it and implement the plan and adapt and problem solve. So we have a lot of confidence and trust in the players that when the game starts that they'll do that.
You mentioned Cal and Mark Sykes are in contention. Is Sinclair Armstrong still a bit further behind?
Yeah, not far. He's back. He was doing an extremely tough session out there today with Joe Williams, so them two are both close as well.
You mentioned on Saturday Josh Campbell, slow, he was on his way back from, was that a knock as well?
Yeah, a little calf injury that he picked up. He played the 21s, then trained with us and picked up a little calf injury, so he's going to be a little bit of time, but we look forward to getting him back.
I'm sure you won't want to give too much away, but you mentioned wanting to recruit maybe 1 or 2 players this January. Like I say, you won't want to give anything away, but what sort of profile of player would you be looking to add?
I don't want to give anything away.
No, nothing at all?
You've answered your own question.
Yeah. No, I guess that'll be the case. You also mentioned on Saturday after the game that you felt Rob Atkinson needed the loan move for confidence. You did discuss Fally Mayulu's confidence after the game. Is he someone that you think would benefit from a loan move away, or do you think he's better off continuing his development in-house?
Yeah, I think it's for different reasons. Rob's more confidence in his body, the fact he's not played games for so long, the fact being able to go Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, so we can play him in 21s games, but the physical demands and the volume of games is completely different. So a big part for Rob in terms of confidence-wise was to actually just go and get minutes and do that. Fally's slightly different. Fally's progressing all the time. I think in terms of when I look at it, naturally someone that wants to do well. I've never met a player that steps on the pitch and doesn't. They're all desperate to do well, desperate to help the team, and Fally's no different to that. I get the added advantage. I see the progress in training that he's making, and the areas that we've been working on, he is improving at. So hence when he plays a game or plays minutes, I know what I'm looking for in terms of progress. So he's getting better. He's one that naturally you bring someone in, you want them to hit the ground running, but we're quite clear we don't sign a finished article, so there shouldn't be any expectation or demands that he does it straight away. If he does, great, we hope so, but it doesn't change my opinion on Fally. I think he's got all the attributes and he's heading in the right direction. We just have to be a little bit patient with him.
So from your point of view, would you rather him stay in-house so you can work with him and he can progress under the club's kind of watch?
Yeah, as it stands, yeah.
With loanees, obviously Ephraim Yeboah's come back. Is the plan for him to head back out on loan this month, or is he going to stay in-house, do you know?
No, as it stands, he obviously didn't get the minutes that he would have wanted to at Doncaster, so I'm actually seeing him this afternoon. Had a quick chat with him yesterday. He's one that we're quite clear he's still so young. He's experienced a lot so young. I think he still needs a huge amount of work, which, knowing him, his attitude, his application, he'll come in and do his very, very best, and it's about now brushing up on the areas that's going to help him push to get in and around the first team. So he's actually out this afternoon doing extra sessions with a small group that we're running. So yeah, it's one of those on F to come back and to push.
I think we spoke about before Christmas potential of other loan players coming back in. Is there any more movement expected there, or do you think like Seb, Josh Stokes?
Not at the minute, no. Not at the minute. I think it's fairly stable. They're all playing. Jamie's doing terrifically well, and that's a big part. Developing players. You can have them in the team and put them in the team, but also some players need to go on a different journey, which doesn't mean that they're not going to progress at this football club. It just means that Jamie obviously had a terrific taste with us. The FA Cup, coming on at right wing back away at Nottingham Forest last year, was a great exposure for him. You then get to a stage, especially certain positions, where Jamie needs to go and build a CV, get beaten up a little bit, and understand how to step up. And he's done terrifically well. Obviously got himself in the full national squad for Canada, and he's someone that's improving all the time. And I think sometimes you can derail that rather than go right, give him a really strong, solid season, and then get him back in pre-season to hit the ground running here.
Perfect. Cheers, Liam.
Thank you.
Liam, to take you back to the FA Cup run last season, where did that rank in terms of your sort of achievements as a manager? Obviously, you knocked out West Ham and then, like you say, unbeaten against Premier League opposition in 4 matches.
As a manager in general or here?
Manager in general and here as well.
Yeah, I think it's such a special competition, and the games are so, I think, unique in that, you know, it's a one-off. So yeah, it like I said, West Ham was a fond place for me. 4 years there was a terrific time. So to go there and not just get through, but perform like we did, I thought performed terrifically well in the games against West Ham, and then the same at Forest. I know it was we were disappointed. I remember J-Mo putting one over in extra time away there, which could have put us through. And it was probably that, I think, the work, the preparation, the lads, going and being themselves and testing themselves against Premier League opposition, which is obviously what we're aspiring to get to, was a great opportunity to see that. And I thought it was a really terrific moment for me personally, but also for the group last year.
And for the club as well. I mean, you'll remember the sort of scenes in that away and at West Ham. Does that go to show sort of what this cup competition can mean to supporters?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's got to keep that. I think we mustn't lose that. I think it is such a special competition with such history that what you don't want to do is change too much of that. So the fact we're kicking off at 12 o'clock says a lot as well. I think it's one of those. It is special. We have to make sure that we protect that and safeguard that for the long term.
You say that preparation's normal. You don't treat it as any other game, but for the players to be taking on Premier League opposition, for a lot of them, it's a real big test of their character and a test of their credentials as well. Does the atmosphere around this place change at all? Is there a bit more excitement?
I wouldn't say naturally. I'd say the lads are quite good at that. They come in willing to work and bounce in most days anyway. Naturally, after a defeat, it's a little bit flatter because we all care and we want to do well. But yeah, it's one of those. I don't need to say too much to the lads to get up for it. It's you want to go out there, they want to give the best account of themselves, and that's the bit I don't think you can raise it for because it's the FA Cup versus you then sustain a lower level in the league. For me, you have to keep that energy, that excitement every single game, because ultimately that's when you perform at your best.
And just on you personally, I suggest you might actually try and bat this question off, but do you feel like it's potentially your best spell as Bristol City manager? Obviously, great results over Christmas and into the new year. And following on from that, is it a good time to play Premier League opposition?
There's a few questions there. Of course, it's a good time. It's a good time in terms of you want momentum, you want to bounce. I think we saw the benefits of that over the Christmas period. So 100% you want to bounce into the next game and carry forward momentum. And I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for the weekend. Hopefully we can get the place rocking like we did away at West Ham and create that energy, that atmosphere, and it should be a good occasion for all.
Best of luck this weekend.
So appreciate it. Thank you.